Here we are, less than 1 day after the launch of the long-awaited Visions of Mana, and the developer studio behind it is being completely gutted and planned for shutdown. In one of the fastest turnaround times between a game releasing and a studio shutting down perhaps ever seen, the developer Uka Studios has reportedly been shuttered by the parent company NetEase Games just a day after their newest title, Visions of Mana, was released to the public. In fact, it was basically same day. Imagine working on something as important and prestigious as the next mainline Mana game. It's the first one in nearly 20 years. In the day that you should be celebrating the public's reactions to the game, which, by the way, have been mostly largely positive, instead of being able to celebrate, you're being told you're being let go. I really want to talk about this. It's kind of making my blood boil. I don't think I can name a time that I've had a story make me so angry that it pulled me out of bed at 6 in the morning. So let's jump into it. I'm Solace. This is Solace and Dread. We produce analytical content as well as nuanced discussions on gaming. If you like that kind of stuff, consider subscribing. So, the news regarding Uka Studios was first detailed in a Bloomberg article, who said on August 29th, they reported that NetEase has cut all but a handful of jobs at its Uka studio in Tokyo. This is ahead of their newly decided plans to shut the Shibuya outfit. They added that the few that will remain will oversee the rollout of its final games before the studio winds down. You might be asking, what games has Uka produced? Well, the studio is new. Oh my god, my alarm for waking up is going off. It's early, y'all. I'm not even supposed to be awake yet. The studio is brand new. Back in 2022, which is only 2 years after its establishment, Uka Studios outlined 3 projects that they currently had in development. There was an action RPG featuring an adventure with unique allies, which obviously we know now is Visions of Mana. And then they're also working on a new style battle game that was based on a popular series, and then an original cooperative action game featuring gigantic enemies. So whatever the other 2 games are, we should keep an eye out to see what they were, but they won't have much post-launch development support, and that's assuming that they're even still going to launch. This is literally their first game, and they're being told they're shut down on the launch of their first game after 4 years of work. What a deflating and tragic story. But this studio is owned by a company called NetEase. They're a Chinese conglomerate of a bunch of studios, like the Embracer Group. The soul of these kinds of companies is non-existent, and that's specifically the conglomerate. They are number-crunching investors, and that is it. They own multiple companies and studios in multiple countries. They don't care about the people that these kinds of decisions affect. Clearly. The reason I say this, by the way, is NetEase could have saved face, giving details of the event and sharing plans for their devs and what they plan to do moving forward. But they specifically chose not to. When they were pressed for more information, NetEase replied they had nothing to announce regarding the specific closure of Uka Studios, and instead chose to give this canned PR statement saying that in supporting studios outside of China, we craft our strategy based on our goal of providing better gaming experiences to local and global players. That's it. Nothing to say. This kind of news puts an undeniable stench around the product that you just released. This lumps the game in to the same category as Forspoken and Gollum, games that were commercial flops attributed to the closure of their respective studios. And this was clearly not the case for Visions of Mana, but that's the narrative that spins up. You could share details saying the group is being folded into the other Japan-based holdings that you have, or say that it was long planned before launch. But you chose this lukewarm turd of a fucking response? Even Forspoken's studio, Luminous Productions, they said that they were being folded back into Square Enix. This helped save face for them. It helps protect the image of the $100 million project the team worked so fucking hard on. Even Daedalic, the company who pumped out that fat pile of shit Lord of the Rings Gollum, said that they were just shifting focus out of developing games and into publishing as to not tarnish the product quite so badly. It's the bare minimum expectation of decency and respect for your work and for the developers. There is a reason statements are made in a strategic nature as to protect your assets. This nothing to announce response was the coldest shit ever. I don't know what possesses companies to do this kind of thing. There was some speculation that what NetEase is doing is they want to focus some of the resources into a homegrown project after the success of Black Myth Wukong, and maybe, you know, a Chinese studio could do it better on their own. But that's all speculation. There's nothing to back that up. And I just wish that they would have shared something to make this not look so terribly bad. You know, in both of the situations with Gollum and Forspoken, where the studio closed following the release of a game, they both made the developing teams feel like they were valued in their statements to the public. They made sure that everyone understood that they're not just being let go and they're being transitioned into other opportunities within their network. Both cases. So why was this so cold and so dismissive of the work that these people have just done? Additionally, there's a boycotting attitude that's already starting because people are pissed off hearing this story. People that were on the fence that were maybe going to buy the game, now they're considering not buying the game because they don't want to reward NetEase for axing their entire fucking developer team. And understandably so. Now, I have to say this openly, as I was technically sponsored by Square Enix by getting a few copies of the game, but please buy Visions of Mana and support the work of these developers. And I can even say I bought it, and I was still gifted copies of it by Square Enix. Don't let the narrative that's being spun up catch you and persuade you to skip it if you are on the fence. And I mean it. This narrative spins up. I've already seen the Nintendo bootlickers inserting Nintendo into the story saying, maybe the failure was due to it not being put on the Switch. It's been a day. Nobody knows if it's failed. In fact, the reception has been overwhelmingly positive for a Mana game. Immediately, people start running with their own stories, and it spreads like wildfire on social media, on Twitter, which, by the way, follow us on Twitter. We are not the kind of people who are going to put that kind of bullshit out in the world. Follow us for good tweets. The developers of Visions of Mana have immense pride in this project, having made several posts about it in both English and Japanese on Twitter. And they have explicitly also stated in interviews that they were not interested in changing the core of Mana to appeal to more Western markets, wanting to honor what made the game so popular in Japan in the first place. I mean, you have to have respect for that alone. This could be the swan song for the franchise if it doesn't get the support that it should. And it would break my heart to see the Mana series die. There's 18 games of history here, dating all the way back to, 1991? And some of these games have massive influences to the action RPG genre as a whole. Please, let's keep the Mana alive. Subscribe for more Mana content. It's definitely coming in the future. And fuck NetEase. That's it from me. Thanks for watching. We'll see you soon. And long live the Turtle Kingdom.